Africa is not poor. It is arguably one of the richest continents in the world, but about 500 million of its citizens are living in poverty. How can that be changed? Some argue that it would take leadership to do that. It is for this reason that the West Africa Civil Society Institute is targeting the young people on the continent and training them, equipping them with leadership skills so they can take charge and lead the continent out of this misery. Nana Asantua Afajinu is the executive director of WACSI. She has this to say.
WACSI is a capacity strengthening institute for civil society in the region. We believe that civil society has a critical role to play in influencing positive developments in West Africa. And to play that role, they must be strong, they must be influential, they must be effective, they must be efficient, they must be sustainable. And so that is the role that WACSI plays, to facilitate that kind of strengthening, to enable civil society play its rightful role. How do we do that? We do it through a number of ways. One is through training. Another is through leadership development, particularly targeting the youth. Another is through knowledge management, using research, because we believe that you need to do things based on knowledge. And so using research to generate the knowledge and also disseminate knowledge on the sector and on things affecting the sector, for the sector and other stakeholders to use. And we also do policy advocacy, but our policy advocacy is based on issues affecting the sector. So things related to, for example, creating an enabling environment for civil society to thrive, legal policy, regulatory environment, and looking at things like funding and the issue of resource mobilization for the sector to sustain itself. So those are the key areas that we focus on.
Professor Patrick Utomi, the keynote speaker, shared insights on leadership and leadership principles and encouraged the fellows to learn and imbibe the skills.
We talk about leadership all the time. Why does leadership matter? As I said, leadership matters. Indeed, it does matter. But why does leadership matter? One of the reasons that leadership matters so much is the belief in a rapidly changing world. And it is not easy for people to deal with change. What makes it something that is manageable, less stressful, and produces the kinds of outcomes that makes life better for people, that enables that great escape, is the way that leaders inspire and essentially drive people towards a destination that they have envisioned.
Nana Afajinu also shared some thoughts on leadership and the continent.
Look at who takes over when the leaders have left. And I believe that one of the challenges that we have on this continent is a leadership deficit. I would give a very clear example. I mean, the Mo Ibrahim Prize, which is given about $5 million to leaders in Africa, African leaders who meet the criteria of good governance, etc., has failed for a number of years now to get leaders to even, meet the criteria to get this. Why? Because, and that is a serious question that we should be asking ourselves. And this crisis of leadership is not only in the political sphere. I think that within our society, we have to be asking ourselves, where are our leaders? Where are those visionary leaders who do not only look at empowering themselves and enriching themselves, but actually want to empower others and make a positive impact on society, bringing about the transformation that we need for this region? To do that, we have to look at those who are going to carry on the torch. And I believe that the youth in West Africa, and we talk about the youth bulge, we talk about over 60%, 70%, some of the statistics, looking at the number of youth that we have, if you look at the demographics. Who else but the youth? If we want to bring about that value transformation. That change, that actually shifts us from where we are now to where we want to be. We have to focus on the youth, and we have to look at the issue of leadership. So WACSI is looking at these two and focusing also on civil society, as I've already talked about the role of civil society. Looking at civil society, the youth within civil society, looking at how we can empower them, we can strengthen their leadership skills so that we do not have that gap, so that we can actually bring about that transformation. Because it's not only about themselves, it's about the institutions they'll be working with, and it's about the society they will be impacting.
Some of the trainees shared their views on leadership in Africa with us, and also shared their expectations.
From here, we will learn a lot of things. Questions that we have that relates to leadership, we will ask and we'll be giving clarification. And also, as we step forward into the society, we also have models. We have people we look up to as leaders, and what they do and how it influences us. We try to copy and also interact with them as models. And through such means, I believe very well that leadership will be repositioned. I expect to change is a constant thing. Lapses I had about myself as it relates to leadership, I will moderate on them based on what I have been taught and how I will be able to translate it into the society, how it will work best, given the perspective of where I am coming from. Because leadership certainly cannot be a general thing. What works here may not work there. So after the training, I will look at what model of leadership that will work best for me at the part of my country where I come from.
For me, I think there's one thing we need to do away with when it comes to leadership, the aspect of age. And I can tell people that age should not be a limit, or it should not be a standard set for leadership. We got young people who can do it. We still need the older ones around, but at least give the younger generation the opportunity to prove themselves, and you can guide them in the process. This training gonna add a lot to my life and gonna improve my skill, my leadership skills. And that I know that as I'm leaving from here, I'm going back to my country with a lot of energy, and I'm going to be fortified to execute whatever I've learned here, and I'm going to pass it on to people who I work with. I don't want to call them my followers. They are here, so I don't want to call them my followers. But I can assure that when I get back to Liberia, I'm going to pass down my knowledge to my colleagues, who I prefer to call them my colleagues, because it's not because I'm in this position that they are not my followers.
Leadership is suffering because we don't have mentors. We don't have people that are willing to guide younger generation, to teach them or to show them the way for them to be able to take over from them. So that's why we always have this issue of experience and issue of age. But then in the developed countries, at a very young age, people are being groomed, people are being trained. So the issue of age is not a problem. Before coming here, I assumed that leadership goes hand in hand with position. It goes hand in hand with knowledge. Yes, position and knowledge are important for leadership, but it's not all that is required for leadership. You have to have that. You have to have a combination of position, of knowledge, to be able to become a leader. Leadership is not a one-off thing. It's a process, and every single day as you grow and as you find solutions and as you can influence others to see things from your own perspective, that makes you a leader.
This has been Emmanuel K. Dugbevi reporting for Ghana Business News.